May we have your attention, please? The 7th IIMEFC and 13th ICIEF will begin shortly. Should there be any technical errors during the meeting, this conference will be forwarded to WebEx. Please check the link showed on your screen, also the meeting number and password. We will read the housekeeping rules for this conference. Please ensure that your electronic device is fully charged. Use earphones for better sound quality. Use or select the virtual background that has been provided. Please use the chat box appropriately. Please ensure that you have stable internet connection. And during the event, participants are requested to turn on their camera feature and turn off the sound. And now we will read the health protocol. Keep a distance of at least 1.5 meters from others. Wear a mask. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Disinfect your hands regularly. Stay healthy by taking vitamins. And avoid sharing personal belongings. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the national anthem, Indonesia Raya. You may all be seated. Honorables, Governor of Bank Indonesia Bapak Peri Warjio PhD, Senior Deputy Governor of Bank Indonesia Ibu Destri Damayanti, Deputy Governor of Bank Indonesia Bapak Dodi Budiwaluyo, Secretary General of International Islamic Fiki Academy Professor Dr. Khutov Mustafa Sano, Head of Bank Indonesia Institute Dr. Solikin M. Juhro, distinguished speakers and moderator, Professor Marco Tiemann from Health University Malaysia, Professor Irwandi Jaswir from Inhat IIUM Malaysia, Professor Tariqullah Khan from Istanbul Sabahattin Zaim University Turkey, Mrs. Amalia Sarasanti from Paragon Technology and Innovation Indonesia, Mr. Afdal Aliazar MBA from National Islamic Economy and Finance Committee, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning to all of you. First of all, praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His grace and mercies, so we can gather at the 7th International Islamic Monetary Economics and Finance Conference, IIMEFC, and the 13th International Conference on Islamic Economics and Finance, ICIEF, today. Second, let us greet and pray to our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who had brought us to the path of light. This conference provides a great opportunity for prospective participants to enhance their knowledge, research findings, and experience in dealing with Islamic economics and finance. This event will also feature presentations by prominent international speakers with cutting-edge session topics. This year's conference is held online for the second time as we acknowledge that the global pandemic has become inevitable and the world is going through a challenging moment in many ways. To begin the program, let's start by reciting Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Now, may we invite our international Qari, Ustadz Ilham Mahmudin SPD. He is the best runner-up of the International Quran Recitation Ceremony at Brunei Darussalam in 2017 and the winner of National Quran Recitation Ceremony at Padang in 2020. Please welcome Ustadz Ilham Mahmudin SPD to recite the Holy Quran.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فكلوا مما رزقكم الله حلالا طيبا واشكروا نعمة الله إنما حرم عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير وما أهل لغير الله به فمن يضطر غير باغ ولا عاد فإن الله غفور رحيم. ولا تقولوا لما تصف ألسنتكم الكذب هذا حلال وهذا حرام. هذا حلال وهذا حرام لتفتروا على الله الكذب. إن الذين يفترون على الله الكذب لا يفلحون. متاع قليل متاع قليل ولهم عذاب أليم. صدق الله العظيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you, Ustad Ilham, for reciting the Holy Quran for us. May Allah always give us guidance and help. Amin. Next, we would like to invite everybody to see the Bank Indonesia Institute Manifesto. Now may we call upon Head of Bank Indonesia Institute, Dr. Solikin M. Juhra, to deliver the committee report.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Honorable Governor of Bank Indonesia, Bapak Dr. Peri Warjio, Excellency Senior Deputy Governor Ibu Destri Damayanti, and Deputy Governor Bapak Dodi Budi Waluyo, former Bank Indonesia board members Bapak Syahril Syabirin, Bapak Aslim Tasudin, Bapak Hartadi Sarwono, Bapak Halim Alamsa, Bapak Endar, the Excellency Secretary General of International Islamic Fiki Academy, Professor Dr. Khutov M. Sanu, distinguished plenary speakers, Professor Marco Tiemann, Professor Irwandi Jaswir, Professor Tariqullah Khan, and Mrs. Amalia Sarasanti, and the moderator of plenary session, my brother Afdal Aliasar from Keynote, Indonesia, and member of editorial board of the Journal of Islamic Monetary and Finance, IIMEFC, honorable official and guests from Bank Indonesia and government institution. I especially mention Bapak Venture Harjo, Executive Director of Keynote, and also Bapak Edi Purnawan, Chairman of the SPE. Esteemed guests from partner institution, private sectors and academia and research institution, webinar participant from Indonesia and abroad. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon us. Very good morning. Salawat and salam be upon Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the seal of prophets and the messenger of God. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. First of all, let us extend our praise and gratitude to Allah, the Almighty God, for only by His blessing and permissions we all can congregate here to have our partaking in the 7th International Islamic Monetary, Economics and Finance Conference and the 13th International Conference on Islamic Economic and Finance, which will be held for 2 days until tomorrow. This year conference is very special, inshallah, as it is for the first time the annual International Islamic Monetary, Economic and Finance Conference and International Conference on Islamic Economics and Finance are conducted in parallel sessions. This year is the second time we come together to join this event that is conducted virtually. So it is a kind reminder that global pandemic is not an obstacle for us to hold this conference. We may be physically distanced, but socially as human beings, we remain close. And we have learned a lot of positive lessons during the last 2 years pandemic era. Inna ma'al usri yusra. Fairly along with every hardship is relief. The title of this year conference is Strengthening Islamic Economic and Financial System in the Post-Pandemic Era, Digitalization and Sustainability. Through this broad theme, and in light of the ongoing unprecedented global economic challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, this conference encouraged the strengthening Islamic economy and financial system in informing policymakers on the appropriate policy mix to respond to the ongoing pandemic and in preparing for the post-pandemic era and digitalization. It has happened in previous years. This year conference is also held in conjunction with the Indonesia Sharia Economic Festival, or ICIEF. We have collaborated 7 times with Indonesia Sharia Economic Festival and will continue, inshallah, to support this important and biggest annual Sharia festival in the region in the years to come, inshallah. On behalf of Bank Indonesia, I would like to also sincerely thank all prominent scholars and dignitaries for their enthusiastic partaking in this virtual conference. Thank you all for allocating your valuable time. Distinguished guests, conference participants. Alhamdulillah, this year's program has received encouraging response from researchers and academia around the world. This year, we have received 251 submitted papers. As a reference for similar academic forums, this is a very significant number in the midst of today's difficult times. These papers are originated from 27 countries. 111 out of the submitted papers, or around 44% of the papers, are written by international authors, and 56% by Indonesian or mixed authors, signifying the improved visibility of the Journal of Islamic Monetary and Economic and Finance, or JMEF, in the international level. In selecting the invited papers, we have implemented a very competitive selection process and review undertaken by well-competent scholars. At the later stage, this invited paper will also be considered for the publication in the JMEF, and after regular peer review process may be published in the regular issues of JMEF. Specifically, as a part of our transformation agenda, starting this year, we have invited new prominent scholars to serve as the member of the JMEF Advisory Editorial Board members. Accordingly, allow me to mention these new members, namely Professor Salina Kasim from International Islamic University of Malaysia, Professor Irwandi Jaswir from International Institute of Halal Research and Training, International Islamic University Malaysia, Professor Muhammad Maksum Billah from King Abdulaziz University, Dr. Muhammad Obaidullah from Islamic Research and Training Institute, Islamic Development Bank, and Dr. Syed Aun Rizvi from Lahore University of Management Sciences and Apaya. Let me also mention that in the last 3 years, Bank Indonesia Institute has continued to enhance strategic partnership with various institutions. This has led to positive contribution to the advancement of economic research ecosystem in Indonesia. Here, I would like to mention the recently formalized collaboration with the Islamic Research and Training Institute and Islam International Association for Islamic Economies, IIEA, which will certainly further strengthen our previous established collaboration with the International Center for Education in Islamic Finance, ICIEF, Malaysia. We also collaborate with domestic institutions such as Komite Nasional Ekonomi dan Keuangan Syariah, INEX, Ikatan Ahli Ekonomi Islam Indonesia, YAI, Institut Pertanian Bogor, and also Badan Amil Zakat Nasional, and inshallah more to come. This strategic collaboration is aimed at promoting a more vibrant policy research environment, especially in the area of Islamic economy, Islamic economics and finance. Distinguished guests, conference participants, on that final note, I would like to end my report. On behalf of Bank Indonesia Institute, again, I would like to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to the distinguished speakers, all participant partner institutions, the organizing and scientific committee, as well as my dear colleagues from Bank Indonesia Institute and Department of Sharia Economic and Finance, DEX, for their great effort in delivering the success of this event. Now, allow me to respectfully invite the Secretary General of International Islamic Faith Academy, Professor Dr. Khutov M. Sano, to deliver a keynote address, and further followed by the Governor of Bank Indonesia, Dr. Peri Warjio, to deliver his keynote address and officially open this international conference. Have a good moment and productive discussion. Thank you. Wallahu muwaffiq ila aqwamit thoriq. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Esteemed guests, we are now going to listen the keynote speech by the Secretary General of International Islamic Fiki Academy, Professor Dr. Khutov Mustafa Sano.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa sallama tasliman kathira. Your Honorable, Your Excellencies, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Very good morning to all of you. It is too early in Jeddah. Roughly it's 5:30. We are talking to you. We just finished Fajr prayer. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty, for enabling all of us to meet again and again after 2 years of trial and difficult moment that humanity has gone through. I would like to take this opportunity again to thank Bank Indonesia for inviting us to be part of this conference. Indeed, it is an honor for me that Bank Indonesia has chosen me to deliver to you this keynote for this conference. Therefore, I would like to say thank you very much for this opportunity. Let me just go straight because I have only 10 minutes to talk. I have said, and I continue to say, that our Islamic economy, it is an economy of inclusivity and justice and humanism. For years back, nobody could have imagined that the whole world would have been affected in 2019 by unprecedented pandemic, which has taken away from us almost 5 million lives around the globe. As of today, we talk about 5 million people have passed away to this pandemic, COVID. This unique pandemic has affected and paralyzed every single aspect of our lives. Millions of people have lost their job, and the world economy is experiencing a recession, and the poverty is expanding its scope. Nations, through its thinkers and policymakers, are multiplying their efforts in order to overcome quickly the impact of this pandemic socially and economically. Indeed, it is not surprising at all that all countries have been offering a series of stimulus economy and packages, hoping their economics would come out stronger and more resilient after this unprecedented global. Yes, there is a need to carefully rethink our priorities, to progressively redesign our strategies and the financial system which we do have in place in order to make it stable, just, resilient, and inclusive. If the Islamic economy, by definition, refer to an economy of principles and norms and moral that guide every aspect of the economic activities and process. Therefore, this economy must be resilient, relevant, and capable to turn every economic challenge into opportunity and every recession into growth by offering innovative strategies and pragmatic approaches. Brothers and sisters, beloved followers, and those people are listening to us through this following, to do so, we as Muslim scholars, International Islamic Fiqh Academy, and all of these inspiring and wonderful institutions around the world, we do have moral duty to put together our intellectual efforts to demonstrate the relevancy of Islamic economy. The time is now to prove the existence of this economy. It is known to be around, it's been accepted around the globe. But the time is to prove that it is relevant to our realities. The time to prove that this system could help humanity to get out of this tragedy, to this difficult moment. We must make use of all of our things, our thoughts, our ideas, our programs, our activities to prove this, not to do anything else, but to be more relevant and to be more acceptable. The Islamic economy has to prove itself to be more resilient. There's no way to do so if we continue to do the same way we used to do this economy, our economic activity before this pandemic. The pandemic has taught us that we have to be more progressive, we have to be more pragmatic, and we have to be more flexible. Luckily for Muslims, our principles are very flexible. Our principles are not so complicated. It's just a matter of ways, a matter to find the ways and means how to put them into practices. Brothers and sisters, today we have this challenge before us, and we have been blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who offered us this principle, who gave us a guidance, whereby we could go to this guidance, and we could refer to this guidance to strengthen our reality, to change our reality, to not get desperate for whatever it has happened and what is going on. In order to do so, the strengthening of the Islamic economy or the social, this is a financial system. There's no other way for us. We have to give more attention and particularity to the social finance. I would say over here that the institutions that we have been going for Islamic economy all the years, for the last 3 decades, we have been talking about banking. We have been talking about financial institutions. And the time has come that we should move and start talking about the Islamic social finance. This Islamic social finance is a key answer to this pandemic era. It is the key answer to prove to the humanity that Islamic economy, which does not only a profit-based economy, but it is also a non-profit-based economy. Therefore, the promotion of this Islamic social finance should be our priorities today. What we do mean by this Islamic social finance, we have institutions in Islam have not been utilized fullest. These institutions, at the top of it, you have the institution of zakat. You may know today that we are having in hands more than $600 billion US dollar under the name of the institution of the zakat. Could you believe that if it is well managed, it's well distributed, and well been distributed, we wouldn't have, I'm not talking about the Muslim poor, I'm not talking about the poverty in the Muslim country, but even in the whole world, the poverty will be far from us. Brothers and sisters, this Islamic social finance should be our answer today. And this Islamic social finance would enable us to become more relevant to the reality. Indonesia has potential to become a hub for this Islamic social finance. Being the biggest Muslim populations on the earth, it has this opportunity that we'll have to put in place. Bank Indonesia should come along with our scholars, our learners, in this Majlis Ulama Indonesia, to put a hand in hands to make sure that Islamic social finance has started to provide its answers. It has to provide its opportunities for those people who are willing to see this Islamic economy. Strengthening Islamic economy should go through the promotion of this aspect, this mechanism. We have been talking and we have been establishing a lot of good ideas, a lot of good initiative when it comes to the banking, when it comes to the financial institutions. We have our takaful institutions, we have the insurance institutions, we have our banks all over the place. Thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for enabling Islamic banking itself to become a reality. Today, we have no choice but to accept it, but we need to improve ourselves. We do not want just to be around. We do not want just to be known, but we want to be relevant, and we have to be a problem solving, a solution for all the problems that economics and the humanities face today. Brothers and sisters, I wouldn't take much from your time. I would just focus on this. And I do know that these international conferences, it is a place, it is a time for all of us to work harder to make sure that whatever we will be doing today will have impact on our life and the life of our beloved brothers and sisters around the globe. As I think these conferences should enable you and all of us to come out with resolutions, with recommendations that should not live only, should not stay in the process, in our proceedings, but it will have to be put into practice. And I do believe that back Indonesia has this capacity to transform, to turn all of this with assistance of the International Association of Islamic Economy. I do believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us another chance to prove to the humanity that Islamic economy does matter, and that Islamic economy could make it, and that the Islamic financial system itself is more relevant than ever before. But it's not just a talks, but should be practices. Let us go to this institution of Islamic social finances. Let us go and try to improve and make sure that our zakat institutions are well managed. Our zakat institutions are doing what is expected from them. Let us go and try to make sure that our waqf institutions is the most relevant to the humanity. Let's even go and see and make sure that our institution of the wills, which is lacking in our Islamic social finance, in Islamic society, Islamic economy. We don't talk that much about this mechanism. They have proven to be the solution to the poverty. They have proven to be the solution to whatever the humanity is faced today, especially after this post-era, this is of a pandemic. If we have managed this one, we have enhanced 600 billion from the zakat money. And now you have more than 500 billion in what do you call in the waqf money. In addition to that, you come out with the wills, and then wherever you will get the institution. Believe me, brothers and sisters, the poverty will get away from our life. This is the main objective. We want it to be shared. We want the wealth to be shared by the humanity. We want to have a more just and very, very prosperous environment. We want to enjoy the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The wealth is belong to Allah, and we have been entrusted to manage it. And let us manage it based on its instructions, based on his instructions, based on his guidance. And that one will make sure, will help enable, will make all of us happy in our life. I would like to say at the end of this keynote, thank you very much, Bank Indonesia. Thank you very much for IAIE. Thank you for all the partners who have supported this wonderful conference. Today and forever, International Fiki Academy will be at your side to come out and help to build this concept, to promote this concept, to make this concept a reality. And I hope that Indonesia will prove again that it is a great nation, it is a great country, by promoting, by turning. For the year to come, we'll be referring to this as a hub of Islamic social finance. I believe, and I do believe, that this is going to happen, and it's happening right now. Through this conference and other conferences, we'll make sure that our thoughts become reality. Thank you very much, brothers and sisters, for the opportunity. And thank you for every single things we are doing for the sake of the Islamic economy, for the promotion of Islamic financial system, for making sure that Islamic, which is a human economy, which is a just economy, which is a straightforward economy, and which is a very, very capable economy to solve the problems and to tackle whatever we are faced today. And I hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive us and accept our beloved who have left us due to this COVID. And may He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, protect all of us and see the day that our next conference will not be through the Zoom, but will be in place, and I will be talking face to face and find the solution to the problems that we are faced to. Thank you very much. Wabillahi tawfiq. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Professor. Next, may we have the honor to invite Governor of Bank Indonesia, Bapak Peri Warjo, PhD, to deliver the keynote speech and to officially open the conference.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Honorable Profesor Dr. Khutov M. Sano, Secretariat General of IIFA Saudi Arabia. Distinguished speakers of the plenary session, Profesor Tariq Istanbul Sabahattin Zaim University, Turkey. Profesor Irwandi Jaswir, International Islamic University, Malaysia. Profesor Marco Tiemann, Halal University, Malaysia. Bapak Afdal Aliasar from Komite Nasional Ekonomi Keuangan Syariah as the moderator. Members of the Board of Editor Journal of Islamic Monetary and Economic Finance, attendees from partner institutions, the private sector, academia, and research institution, webinar participants from within and outside the country. Alhamdulillah Irabbil Alamin. Praise to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, which provide us health and strength so we can gather this morning in this very important conference and seminar. Salawat and salam be conveyed to Rasulullah Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, along with family, friends, and all of us who touch us and bring us from the darkness into the light. This year, the 7th International Islamic Monetary, Economics, and Finance Conference is indeed special because it is held together with the 13th International Conference on Islamic Economics and Finance, co-hosted by Bank Indonesia and IIEA, Indonesian Islamic Economics Association, Komite Nasional Ekonomi Keuangan Syariah, National Committee of Syariah Economic and Finance, Institut Pertanian Bogor, as well as Basnas as part of the 8th ICIEF Indonesia Syariah Economic Festival 2021. I am grateful and happy that this 2 days conference bring together highly competent Islamic economists, speak and also share the knowledge and valuable views to bring the more important of developing Islamic economic and finance. Ladies and gentlemen, blessed by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, we are still living in pandemic, but we are grateful as well as faithful. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala will bring about progress and solution to our problem. This is the spirit that we bring together. On that note, let me share the following 3 aspects. First, we need to continue of bringing together the benefit of free trade among the countries. Please do not lose sight. On the back of pandemic, we have to continue joining hand country by country, helping country that need vaccines to bring help for humanity. But above all, bring together free trade that Our Prophet Muhammad taught us of bringing of society of welfare through trade. This is the values that we have to continue uphold and continue to be even stronger from the pandemic. Second, pandemic also provide a lesson that digitalization is a key on accelerating the economic recovery. We have testified the rise of digital banking, electronic money, and e-commerce transaction to help the economy grow. This is also the case of Islamic economy. For instance, in August 2021, the e-commerce transaction value of halal industry commodities had increased significantly by more than 20% year on year, dominated by fashion product. To make a greater impact, the digitalization must establish end-to-end, creating an ecosystem of digital economy and finance, including, of course, to bring about more progress for our economic and finance Islamic, including halal industry, fashion, and food. Third, Islamic economic and finance, of course, need to do well, to do more on supporting the national and international and each country economic recovery. This is that we have to go more, which is need more solution on how to progress on the economic and finance based on the Islamic values, not only in bringing about the Islamic economy and finance, but also mobilizing zakah, infak, sodaqah, and okaf. How to optimize those to bring about progress in the Islamic economic and finance. This is the spirit also in every country, including Indonesia. As the largest Muslim population country in the world, Indonesia, we go and also work together to mobilize zakat, infak, sodaqah, and okaf, and more than that, to be also progressing in the Islamic economy and finance, including for global halal product. Ladies and gentlemen, for closing, of course, I invite all our friends and researchers to share the knowledge, to bring about innovation, to bring about more thoughtful and also implementable solution to our problem. Of course, we have to do more because of the pandemic, and most of all because Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala always provide more solution than the problem. This is the spirit that we Bank Indonesia is hosting this event together. IIMEFC and ICIEF together to bring scholars and researchers from all over the world to bring about this solution, innovation, and progress for the economic and finance based on the Islamic values. We also provide the Journal of Islamic Monetary and Bank Indonesia, Islamic Monetary and Economic Finance for all of you. Of course, this is Bank Indonesia contribution, a small contribution, hopefully as catalyst to bring together various ideas, exploring knowledge, and inspiring policy formulation in the field of the economic, finance, especially Islamic finance. On that note, we thank you and grateful, and of course, looking forward for all of you speaker, contributor, discussion, and participant to this conference. Seeing the quality of the papers and their authors, we do believe we will and can do more to bring about more knowledge, more innovation in this conference. May Allah Almighty always bless us with the success and barakah. I thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Governor Periwarjo. Ladies and gentlemen, with the keynote speech by the Governor of Bank Indonesia, the 7th IIMEFC and the 13th ICIEF are officially open. Now we would like to invite you all to join a virtual group photo. Please ensure that your camera is on. The photos will be taken with our count. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you, everyone. Before we start the main agenda, allow us to invite Kiai Haji Muhammad Khalil Nafis LCMA PhD to lead dua.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ayuhal hadirun, wabil khusus Al-Muhafidz Bank Indonesia, Bapak Periwarjo, wal muhadirin, wal bahisin, wal musyarikin. Nakhtatim hadzal iftitah bidu'a ilallahi subhanahu wa ta'ala, rajian ayyakuna najihan wa mumtazan wa nakuna fi mardatillah. Nastaghfirullahaladzim, nastaghfirullahaladzim. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa sallim. Ya Allah, ya Rahmanu, ya Rahim, ya Fattah, ya Razak, ya Fa'alul lima yurid. Lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalal jalal karim wa azimi sultanik. Allahumma inna nas'alukal huda wat tuqa wal afafa wal ghina. Allahumma inna nas'aluka ridhaka wal janna wa na'udzubika min sakhatika wan nar. Allahumma innaka afun karim tuhibbul afwa anna ya karim. Allahumma ighfir lana dhunubana liwalidina wa li ikhwatina wa masyayikhina wa muallifina wa man ahsana bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Ya amanal khaifin aminna mimma nakhaf ya waliyas kullu nabina waqaf. Allahumma ja'al hadzal barnamij ya Allah najihan wa mumtazan. Allahumma ja'al hadzal barnamij ya Allah najihan wa mumtazan. Waj'al hadzal barnamij ya Allah li taqaddumi sya'bi wal insaniyati bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Allahumma ja'al jam'ana hadza jam'an marhuma wa tafarruqan bi yadihi tafarruqan ma'suma. Allahumma hdina fi man hadait wa afina fi man afait wa tawallana fi man tawallait wa barik lana fi ma a'tait wa qina bi rahmatika syarra ma qadait. Fa innaka taqdi wa la yuqda 'alait. Fa innahu la yadhillu man walait wa la ya'izzu man adait tabarakta wa ta'alait falakal hamdu ala ma qadait astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Allahumma dfa'anna al-ghalaa'a wal balaa'a wal wabaa'a wal riba wal virus corona wal fahsya'a wal munkar wa suyufal mukhtalifata wa syada'id wal mihan ma dhahara minha wa ma batan am baladina hadha khassah wa am buladil muslimina amma ya rabbal alamin. Rabbana la tada' lana dhanban illa ghafartah wa la 'aiban illa satartah wa la maridan illa syafaitah wa la dhalan illa hadaitah wa la hajatan min hawajid dunya illa qadaitah wa yassartaha. Allahumma inna nas'alukal afiyah wa tamamal afiyah warzuqna 'alal afiyah wa tamamal afiyah birahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Allahumma inna nas'alukal khaira ajilahu wa ajilahu ma 'alimna bihi wa ma lam na'lam wa na'udzubika minasyarri ajilahu wa ajilahu ma 'alimna bihi wa ma lam na'lam. Allahumma inna nas'aluka min khairi ma sa'ala bihi nabiyyuka wa abduk wa na'udzubika mimma 'adana bihi nabiyyuka wa abduk. Allahumma inna nas'aluka al-jannata wa ma qarraba ilaiha min qawlin wa 'amalin wa i'tiqadin wa na'udzubika minan nar wa ma qarraba ilaiha min qawlin wa 'amalin wa i'tiqadin bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين شكرا جزيلا تقبل الله منا ومنكم ثم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you, Kiai Haji Muhammad Khalil Nafis. May Allah bless us. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the end of our opening ceremony. May we inform you that the plenary session will begin shortly. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we shall begin our main agenda today, plenary session on Islamic economy, halal economy and industry for organic growth toward global value change with the prominent speakers. Before we begin the plenary session, we would like to ask moderator and all speakers to turn their cameras on as we will have a group photo. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, photo will be taken with our count. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you, everyone. And now we shall begin the plenary session. To lead the session is Mr. Afdal Al-Yasar, MBA from National Islamic Economy and Finance Committee. Before we invite our moderator, we would like to introduce him to you. Bapak Afdal Al-Yasar MBA is an Islamic economy and finance practitioner who is also an Islamic philanthropist. He is now a director of Halal product industry in the National Committee of Islamic Economy and Finance of the Republic of Indonesia, or KNEKS. He started his professional career by joining the banking industry at Bank Niaga and Citibank. He earned a master's degree on strategic management at Prasetya Mulia Business School. His interest in Islamic finance and Islamic economy made him pursue the industry by continuing to explore knowledge and expertise, including in ICIEF Malaysia, Durham University UK, Islamic Finance Qualification, Chartered Institute of Securities and Investment UK. In 2016, he established PT Pengelola Aset Islami Indonesia, where he directly takes part in various Islamic economy development and Islamic business projects. He also pioneered the productive wakaf scheme that is applied to business assets, which foster the sustainability of its business and benefits. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our moderator, Bapak Afdal Al-Yasar, MBA.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Your Excellencies, the honorable speakers, distinguished guests, and all participants, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning to everyone. First of all, let us praise and thank to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God Almighty, the most gracious and the most merciful, for only with His blessing that we may gather together at this remarkable event, the 7th International Islamic Monetary, Economic and Finance Conference, and the 13th International Conference on Islamic Economic and Finance. The seminar is being held in conjunction with the 8th Indonesia Sharia Economic Festival, ICIEF 2021. My name is Afdal Al-Yasar. I'm very honored to be the moderator of this first plenary session webinar. Our topic today in webinar in Islamic economy, halal economy, and industry for organic growth towards global value chains. The discussion will be covered about global value chains and how Islamic economy and halal economy can accelerate the growth of global value chains of the industry, not only for Indonesia, but also for other countries for global economy. We are very fortunate to have our prominent speakers today to share their thoughts in each 20 minutes. The first speaker will be Professor Tariq Khan from Istanbul Sabahattin Zim University. Professor Tariq Khan is currently a professor of Islamic Economic and Finance at Istanbul Zim University. Formerly, he was president for International Associations for Islamic Economic. He was also professor and program directors, master degree and PhD, Islamic Finance and Economy at Hamad bin Khalifa University, Qatar Foundations. His current areas of interest are healing ecology through economy, climate change, and greening finance, Islamic financial services, and Islamic economy and digital transformations. The next speaker will be Professor Marco Tiemann from Help University, Malaysia. Professor Marco Tiemann is a full professor with ELM Graduate School, Help University in Malaysia. He holds master degree in Industrial Engineering and Management Science from the University of Twente, the Netherlands, and a PhD in Business Management in Halal Supply Chain Management from the University Technology Mara, Malaysia. He is also the founder and Chief Executive Officer of LBB International, a supply chain strategy consultancy and research firm, as well as won academic award for his groundbreaking research in halal purchasing and halal supply chain management. The next speaker will be our best friends, Professor Irwandi Jaswir from INHART IIUM Malaysia. Professor Irwandi is the King Faisal Prize 2018 laureate in service to Islam. He currently works as a research coordinator at the Halal Industry Research Center, University International Islamic University, Malaysia, IIM Kuala Lumpur. He successfully pursued his studies at master degrees and PhD level at University Putra, Malaysia, and was conferred a Master of Bioscience in Food Science and Biotechnology in 1996, and PhD in Food Chemistry and Biochemistry in 2000, respectively. And the last one is Ibu Amalia Sarasanti from Paragon Technology Innovation Indonesia, the brand owner of Wardah, passionate marketer with more than 18 years experience in fast-moving consumer goods industry, including foods, personal cares, beverage, juice, ice cream, and of course, beauty category. She is the AVP and CMO of Paragon Technology, VP Marketing and Investment, Digital Transformation in Paragon Technology and Innovation, and also Senior Director before in Oral Care category from Unilever Indonesia. Graduate from Institute Technology Bandung, Industrial Engineering. Yeah. Okay. How are you, Professor Tariq? Assalamualaikum. Can you hear me?
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I can hear you, Brother
Thank you.
Afdal.
Yeah, thank you for joining our discussion. And how are you, Prof. Marco Tiemann?
Very good morning, Pak Afdal and fellow speakers. I'm very well. Good to see you here this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Marco. And Assalamualaikum, Prof. Irwandi Jaswir.
Waalaikumsalam, Pak Afdal, and also fellow speakers. Good morning.
Yeah, very nice to see you again in our seminars. And Ibu Amalia, Assalamualaikum Ibu Amalia.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It is an honor to be here with all of you.
Thank you. Yes, this is a very honor for me. In today's discussions, we will discuss with prominent scholars from around the world who has a very, very passionate in halal and Islamic economy development. Without any further ado, I will give the time to please for each of the speakers to deliver the thoughts and presentations. For the first, for the Professor Tariq Khan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Can I use my PowerPoint here? It seems I can. Yeah, not
yes.
that one. I'm very sorry.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, just
okay, Professor.
Yeah, can you see me now? My.
Yeah, that's good now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Assalamu alaikum and Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. My relationship with Bank Indonesia has a long history. We organized one of the major conference in 2003 on risk management and another conference on the challenges facing Islamic banking in Bali in 2004 and another conference through the association in 2006. That was the 6th international conference. So I'm grateful to Bank Indonesia to host this conference, which is the 13th conference and of the Association for Islamic Economics. And also thank you to all the other host institutions and co-organizers for helping us to organize this conference. In my brief discussion, I want to emphasize on, I don't know what's going on here.
Next. Yeah.
Yeah, here. I am not an expert in the, especially in the technical issues of the halal economy, but I want to share with you some of the strategic issues which I think the industry will face going forward. First of all, I want to mention about where we are in terms of the paradigm and where we will move in terms of the paradigm. So we are actually in the world economy, which is characterized to be a carbon economy. There is a lot of waste, there are a lot of emission, and then there is riba surrounding that economy. And because of the climate challenges and the policies of climate remediation and the transformation of technologies and government policies, this economy is very fast being transformed into a green economy, which is also called as the circular or green economy. So the first challenge going forward is, are we ready as a halal economy to move quickly in that transformation process from the current location in the linear or red economy to a more green economy, which is actually emerging in most of the countries. And you can see even in Indonesia, the strategy of the Bank Indonesia and OJK, they are trying to transform the economy to become more green and decarbonized. And this transition of the halal economy will be driven by eliminating waste, eliminating emissions. Of course, we are a zero riba economy. So that is one of the first challenges which we have to keep in mind. And the second, next slide, please, sorry. The second strategic issue, which it was not very clear to me, is about the scope and size of the economy. So, of course, there is this global Islamic economy report by the Dinar Standards. According to them, which is a narrower definition, scope of the halal economy, when a service or product is prohibited by Sharia, a permitted alternative to that service or product constitutes the halal economy. And of course, this requires certification. And from my point of view, this scope is very narrow. A broader scope probably is more useful, which is Islamic economy constitutes all what is permitted, including the halal certification need. So if we look at that, then the concept of the global economy in terms of size and impact will be much larger than the narrower scope of the halal economy. Next slide, please. Then I mentioned about the transformation of economies. Actually, this is a tremendous, and now scientists, economists, policymakers, technologists, all of these groups, they agree that the transformation of the economies is really unprecedented. What has happened is that those countries where the human development is higher have generated a lot of emissions. And when we are saying sustainable development, that doesn't mean that only the developing countries or poor countries have to develop. Much more burden is on the more developed countries. For example, Singapore's what we call as ecological footprint is 8 Earth. Instead of that, a more just and humane economy will require 1 Earth capacity. So how countries like Singapore, Europe, America, and other countries, China, are going to transform their economies from that 8 Earth capacity to 1 Earth capacity, that is a lot of transformation, and the halal economy will be really impacted by that. Next slide, please. Whereas on the other hand, beyond halal profits, inspiration from the Islamic worldview is, of course, the driving force of the halal economy, responsibility towards society. And if we look at the original inspirations of Islamic economics, where our messenger, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is declared as mercy for the worlds, Rahmatul Alameen. That means not only for the Muslims, but for the non-Muslims as well, not only for the living species, but also for everything. So that concept of responsibility is the driving force of the halal economy. Then man as a trustee of Allah on earth, which when we are a trustee of Allah on earth, then the responsibility on us is very, very serious. And then we are the ummah of the wasatiyah, the middle path, and the concept of mizan, al-mizan, the universal balance, and the injunctions against waste and tabzir, israf and tabzir, and the rights of passive stakeholders, future generations, which is a very important element in the maqasid al-sharia. So if we look at these inspirations from the Islamic worldview, then there is a lot of responsibility beyond the halal profits, which rests on the halal economy, which is a very strategic responsibility, for the reason that in today's world, there is a race to responsibility. And if in that race to responsibility, we are lagging behind, then that will not be having a good implication for the growth of Islamic economy and the role it has to play. Next slide, please. So here are the drivers of the halal economy on the demand side and on the supply side. This is, of course, from the Global Islamic Economy Report 2020. A large and fast-growing and young Muslim population, Islamic values driving lifestyle practices, digital connectivity, growth of ethical consumption. So then on the supply side, government regulations, intra-OIC trade growth, participation of global top brands, national Islamic economic strategies, pluralistic and inclusion ideals in some of the major countries. And this, I want to make one point for the consideration of the other panelists, is that basically the growth of ethical consumption is something very important, because there are many people who don't believe in halal haram, but they consume the halal because the halal is more better for the health. And now there's a competition with the organic product and the halal product in terms of being healthy for consumption. So the question arises is that is there a possibility of organic halal? And of course that would be costly. And then what Islamic finance can do to promote organic halal? And so that is one of the strategic challenges also to going forward. So with these few observations, I give the floor back to you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Tariqullah. It's very, very interesting thought about how Islamic economy and also halal economy develop, not only in the red economy, but moving to the green economy. Okay, participant, maybe we can have a discussion later. I will invite other speakers to present about their thoughts, and later maybe after Ibu Amalia, and we will continue for the discussions. The next, Professor Marco Tiemann. The floor is yours to share your thought about the Islamic economy, halal supply chain, of course. Please.
Thank you, Pak Afdal. Dr. Perry, Governor of Bank Indonesia, Professor Khutov, Sano, senior representatives from Bank Indonesia, Pak Afdal, Al-Aishar, Director KNIKS, fellow speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Selamat pagi, a very good morning to everybody. May peace be upon you in these challenging times. I would like, first of all, to thank Bank Indonesia and KNIKS for inviting me to this important conference. It's a great honor to present to you more insights into halal supply chains in a pandemic era, synergies between Islamic finance and halal industry to strengthen the halal value chain, and halal risk and reputation management. Thank you. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next. The lockdowns all over the world have created massive disruptions in farming, manufacturing, transportation, logistics, and trade. Global vessel schedule reliability has fallen from an average of 75% to 35%, which makes supply chain planning impossible. And with the dependence on global supply chains today, as supply chains are failing as we speak, including food supply chains. OIC countries in particular will be suffering, as most OIC countries are highly dependent on imports. That used to be not a problem with an oversupply from non-OIC countries that were most happy to supply to OIC countries. But these assumptions are now being tested. So what are the main bottlenecks in the halal industry and its supply chains? These are four. So first of all, OIC countries are dependent on global imports. A few countries in the OIC, with the exception of Turkey and Indonesia, are large agri-food exporters. Most countries are very dependent on even basic food products. Secondly, there is a lack of halal production clusters in OIC countries. And so clusters, or also known as halal parks, can become an important instrument in boost food production and also non-food production for OIC countries and also export. Thirdly, a big bottleneck is the harmonization of halal standards. Dr. Perry from the Bank Indonesia already highlighted in his speech the importance of free trade. Harmonization among ASEAN and RCEP countries is therefore important, but also OIC SMIC standards need to be adopted. Recently, in November 2020, OIC SMIC launched the OIC SMIC 17 standards for halal supply chains. So this is an important standard to be adopted to allow for free trade globally. Number four, it is important to control halal commodities and halal assets. So most halal assets and halal commodities are not in the hands of OIC. So there is an increasing need, a role for OIC countries to control trade of agriculture commodities, ingredients, and additives. So there's a need to brand the halal logo on exported agriculture commodities, ingredients, and additives by all OIC countries. And this is not always happening. Next slide. So I will be talking about the halal value chain. Next slide. Exactly 10 years ago, in the year 2011, my research paper, The Application of Halal in Supply Chain Management, in-depth interviews, was published in the Journal of Islamic Marketing. In this model, I describe that halal goes through an evolution through different phases, from a Muslim company, which is based on trust between people, to halal product, stage 2. Trust is based on the halal logo of the certification body. Third stage, the halal supply chain, where halal needs to be addressed end-to-end throughout the chain towards a halal value chain. So currently, Indonesia is in stage 3 of the halal supply chain. The Vice President of Indonesia, Pak Maruf Amin last week called for halal value chain integration. So he is calling already to move to stage 4, the halal value chain. Next slide. In my research, I created a halal value chain model, which is the model that you can see in front of you. So this model is adapted from Michael Porter, which some of you might already have been have knowledge of. So I changed some of the components in this model, supporting activities and primary activities, such as Sharia compliant infrastructure is important in here. When we talk about Sharia compliant infrastructure, there's a need for Islamic banking. There's a need for takaful. And takaful can be quite complex as we talk about insurance, also for fire, insurance for goods. There are not always Sharia compliant alternatives for all kinds of insurances a company has to deal with. We also talk here about corporate wakaf. These are part of a Sharia compliant infrastructure for companies. Halal is also addressed in other functions such as HR, sustainability, which is an increasing and important topic when we talk about climate change. Also, the importance of packaging is important. A lot of companies want to use recycled packaging, and there's still no consensus in the Muslim world about the use of recycled packaging for primary packaging of product that directly touches the product. So consensus is needed, and I also would call to the OIC SMIC to create a new standard for halal packaging. Halal procurement is an important function where procurement can be seen as an important bottleneck in any halal certification. Components I added to the halal value chain model based on the earlier value chain model from Michael Porter. I included also the importance of halal risk and reputation management. More on that later. Also, I included corporate zakat in here, which is important also for companies to implement. Next slide. So this is when we talk about a halal value chain, but a corporate value chain is part of a halal value network. And then it becomes even more complex because then we talk about Sharia compliant trade financing. Are international transactions halal? Because they all need to go through SWIFT system. And is the use of SWIFT system halal? The halal value chain and the halal value network is extremely complex to manage without a halal ecosystem. And this requires the need for an advanced cluster development in OSCE countries. One of these examples already happening today is in Indonesia called Modern Halal Valley. Next slide, please. So Modern Halal Valley in Indonesia, 1 hour away of Jakarta, they are creating a 500 hectares complete halal ecosystem. And this will be important for the future of OIC countries to create strong production system. Next slide. These production systems also need to be connected to a global network. So what already Modern Halal Valley has done, they created a halal cluster network connecting Modern Halal Valley also to Europe through a halal cluster in Spain, other parts of Asia, and soon also to the Middle East. And halal clusters don't grow automatically. They need a halal cluster management organization. So Modern Halal Valley has created a halal cluster management organization called Halal Valley Society, where they have programs for farmers, programs for SMEs, large industry, and also link it to government and education and research. Next slide. Another topic I would like to highlight is on halal risk management. Next slide. In halal risk management, it is important to have both proactive and reactive strategies for an effective risk management. Most companies, however, they have established when they want to get halal certified, a halal assurance system. And that is required a document if you want to get halal certified by a halal certification body. That is true for Indonesia and the BPAPH, but also for other countries like Malaysia, where they have JAKIM, MUIS in Singapore, CICOT in Thailand, and there are many more halal certification bodies, an estimated 400 to 500 all over the world. For compliance sake, most companies expect that the halal assurance system, as it is good enough for halal risk management, but that is not true. You need far more building blocks for a proper halal risk management. So first of all, you need to have prevention in here. You need to have a halal supply chain blueprint that confirms your halal control points and control measures throughout your entire supply chain. Secondly, issue management is important. This is under mitigation. So what are your responses if there is an issue which requires a risk mitigation and communication plan? Very few companies, even large companies, do not have proper issue management. And they're looking at non-conformity in the halal assurance system, very basic, but they don't look at the whole management of the issue, which is also touching very sensitive Islamic values. Thirdly, an important building block is recovery. So this is about, you need to have a risk recovery and communication plan, a crisis manual that exactly tells you what to communicate to the consumer outside in order to improve and repair halal trust, Islamic values and networks. I see in my work a lot of crisis manuals that have not addressed halal at all. This is very risky because we have seen over the past years a lot of halal scandals or halal issues which became a big crisis for big brand owners. So it is necessary that companies better protect themselves and better protect their brands. Next slide, please. My next topic will be on halal reputation management. Next slide. A lot of companies assume that the halal image, also known in Indonesia as gambar, is the same as halal reputation, also reputasi in Indonesia. And halal image is often measured by big brand owners, which is just a reflection of reality, which is a perspective of the past. What is needed, however, is a more rational, a more robust measurement, which is reputasi, the actual halal reputation. So in my research, I defined a measurement to measure the corporate halal reputation, which not only gives a perspective to the past actions and halal performance of the company, but also will show that the future ability of the firm had to meet halal requirements. And so in my halal reputation index, next slide, I have 4 important drivers. First one is halal authenticity, which is the halal DNA of the company, which is based on the halal strategy. So has the company a solid halal policy? Is there strategic alignment, internal alignment within the company and its supply chain, but also external alignment with Muslim communities? It is shown that if the alignment, both internal and external, is very good, you have a better resilience in case of a halal issue. Thirdly, in the halal authority, the halal maturity of the company is good. Do you take a product approach, a supply chain, or a value chain approach to halal? The second component in the reputation index is which halal certification body are you using as company? You're halal certified by the certification body, but there are 400 to 500 different certification bodies. So if you're certified by the Indonesian halal certification body, BPAPH, it's globally recognized as compared to some European halal certification bodies, which are not recognized and do not have the same standing as the Indonesian halal certification body. The third component is messages by company and supply chain partners, which are based on, is there a reputation strategy, a halal reputation strategy? Is there a blueprint for issue management? Do we have a crisis manual that addresses halal? And finally, important driver in the Halal Reputation Index is measuring of the external stakeholders, is looking at how are you connected to Muslim communities? What is the current media coverage on your brand related to halal? Is it positive, neutral, or negative? And what is the corporate track record on halal issues? So I'm hoping that companies are embracing a new measurement to measure their corporate reputation, adopting the Halal Reputation Index. Next slide. You can also relate the Halal Reputation Index drivers to the actual market requirements, which is important to do because every country has its own fatwas, its own halal standards, which might change the halal requirements over time. There is a new law, like Law 33 in Indonesia, the halal requirements change. So by a changing of new rules, by the introduction of new fatwas, your license to operate of a brand operating in Indonesia might change. So it's always good to relate those drivers of the Halal Reputation Index to a country's halal ecosystem. And that is what you do with the license to operate rating. So next to the Halal Reputation Index is good also to measure the license to operate rating as a new KPI for top management operating in Muslim countries. Next slide. So this was my presentation. For more information on these topics, please visit halalbusinessmanagement.com or my YouTube channel, Halal Business Management. Please stay healthy. May peace be upon you. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Marco. Very interesting presentations. I read many things about the halal supply chains actually, and how the next development that you mentioned about reputations index, and also the last one, license to operate. This is very interesting to be discussed later. But next, we'll move to Professor Irwandi Jaswir. From Professor Tariq, we learn about the Islamic economy and move to the green economy. From Professor Marco Tiemann, we hear about how to implement the supply chains cluster to bring the reputations. And now from Professor Irwandi Jaswir, maybe we can hear from Professor from the halal science, how difficult to do the research and how too difficult to implement the research in the halal. The time is yours, Professor Irwandi, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Pak Afdal. I would like to thank Bank Indonesia for kindly inviting me. I think this is not my first time to be invited by Bank Indonesia. I feel honored to be here today. Especially, I would like to thank Pak Perry. And also, I would like to say salam, Prof. Sanu Khutov. Assalamualaikum, Prof. And also the fellow speakers. Thank you very much. Allow me to talk a little bit on the halal science. This is my research interest in the last couple of years. I give my presentation title, Holistic Halal Supply Chain Challenges in Providing Halal Materials, Food Authentication, and Traceability. My name is Irwandi Jaswir. I'm an Indonesian, currently serving International Institute for Halal Research and Training, International Islamic University, Malaysia. Next slide, please. Yeah. Brothers and sisters, we know that when we talk about halal, the concept in Islam is very, very holistic. It is halal and tayyiban. It's always mentioned in Quran, halal, followed by tayyiban. And it is a concept from A to Z, concept from farm to plate, concept from the source of origin till the end products, storage and distribution. Halal nowadays is not seen by the Muslim only. It is also seen and given attention by almost everyone, including non-Muslims. Many non-Muslim, majority Muslim countries are also look into halal. The halal business industry is a strong promoter of the socio-economic growth in many Muslim majority countries, and therefore efforts to improve halal governance and product supply chains are continuously being intensified. We know that, as mentioned by Professor Marco Tiemann just now, that many Muslim countries are not main player in the industry. When we look at the importance of halal to the Muslim, I think we have to start from very beginning. There are 5 that we record in our papers, that there are 5 importance of halal to the Muslims. Number 1, that we have to bear in mind is that halal is obligation to God and religion. So it should be the foundation, the basis for us to start everything else. So we have to start with that. This is obligation to God and religion. Then we move to the business. Second is a huge global halal market potential. More than 80% gap between demand and supply nowadays, where Indonesia should take the opportunity. More than 80% of the gap between demand and supply of that halal products. Number 3 is people welfare. Halal industry provide broader job opportunities and increase the safety of the products. Many halal products are consumed by non-Muslim as well. I was taught that 65% of halal meat exported by New Zealand, 65% are exported to non-Muslim countries. So meaning that halal meat is consumed by 65% of the halal meat consumed by non-Muslim countries. Similarly to Malaysian scenario, out of 20 major importers of Malaysian halal products, 18 of them are non-Muslim countries, and the top 2 are China and United Kingdom. So halal is more toward lifestyle instead of that religious obligation. Next is increasing domestic demand. Muslim nations are not importer, are net importer. Yeah? Muslim nations are net importer of various products, including halal products. So most of our products are coming from the non-Muslim countries. And of course, the last one is economic welfare. Halal gives added value, promote trade and investment. When we look at this slide, from A to Z pathway, from scientific perspective, in almost all steps of this, there is potential for non-halal contamination. When we talk about the holistic concept, because it is a religious obligation, we have to make it clear that in every step there is no contamination. However, it is there. Permitted animal, for example, the slaughtering house, for example, a lot of hanky-panky. We visited many slaughterhouse. It is halal during the visit, during the audit, but after that we do not know. If they follow MUI standard of procedure or JAKIM, for example, the slaughterman, that slaughter the animal must be practicing Muslim. But sometimes when we observe in the field, many of non-Muslim also the slaughterman. This is the reality. So the integrity of the halal supply chains must be intensified. The next one is processing and additive. The use of ingredients and additive are very, very critical in the halal industry. That's why the research on these two are very, very important. Next slide, please. Last year in 2020, we have published one book, Daftar Referensi Bahan-bahan yang memiliki titik kritis halal dan substitusi bahan non-halal. Alhamdulillah, thank you KNEKS for funding this research, and we published the book here. From our research, we found that many ingredients used by the industry in Indonesia are imported and mostly from non-Muslim countries, while we actually have the potential to explore the resources, and we develop and produce ourselves. Among the food ingredients with halal critical points in Indonesia, number one is gelatin. Indonesia import more than a few 100,000 tons a year, with million rupiah used for the import. While we have, from our research, we have kambing, we have a fish gelatin, we have a source of cows, etc. That we never think to explore it. So if Indonesia would like to become the world halal hub and leading in the halal industry, we have, number one, to explore our potential. Ladies and gentlemen, that I would like to tell you that 65% of the gelatin used in the world market are derived from pig, either from pig skin or pig bone. And 20 to 30% of other gelatin are derived from halal animal, but not slaughtered according to Islam. So we have only 5 to 10% halal gelatin in the world. While we know that gelatin is used extensively in food, cosmetic, pharmaceutical, and many other products. This is an issue. Second, the flavors. We also lack of this. We import this mostly from Netherlands and European countries. Oleoresins, seasonings. We have a lot of seasoning, but we do not explore this. Enzyme, it is used mostly in beverage, in the pharmaceuticals, and also in the food productions. Food colorants, antioxidant, emulsifier, etc. We have all these things, and we already identified, and we wrote in this book. And the book is downloadable at this link, and then you may visit the KNEKS, and then you can download for free. So a lot of issue for us in the Muslim countries. Next slide, please. That's why the research, innovation, and development on the halal authentication and also traceability are very, very critical if we would like to become the world halal hub. It is impossible for us to step forward to become the leading countries in the halal industry without strengthening our research, development, and innovation. I give you a few examples. Due to the potential, various countries, not Indonesia, and regardless they are Muslim majority country or not, this is from our record, are moving up fast in capturing opportunities offered by halal industry. Malaysia, for example, is set to announce its halal industry master plan 2.0 towards a more visible, prominent, and globalized halal Malaysia. Japan announced that halal has been identified as a key source of contributor to Japan economy with the 2020 Summer Olympic, the last Olympic, as a catalyst. Similarly to Korea, I've been once invited by a member of parliaments in Seoul, and then I see how Korea eagerly would like to get into the halal industry. South Korea is visioning to become one of the main tourism destinations for Muslim tourists. Brazil is the largest supplier of halal poultry to the Middle Eastern countries. United Arab Emirates is visioning to become the center of Islamic economy, focusing on Islamic finance and halal. Thailand, our neighboring countries, is one of the world's largest producers of halal processed food. In terms of halal food, I think Thailand is the most, the country with the most enjoyable 3.1 trillion US halal industry. Yeah. And they have the slogan, tagline, that Thailand is the kitchen of the world, even though only 5% are Muslim in Thailand. And last is Australia. It's also the largest supplier of halal beef to most of the Muslim countries. And research on halal authentication, to me, is one of the key elements that we need to strengthen. Yeah, we do not see, especially in Indonesia, after I go through here from Banda Aceh to Sulawesi, for example, visiting many universities, I do not see any strong research institute in Indonesia. We need to have one like Chulalongkorn, one in Chulalongkorn University in Thailand, where they develop not only halal materials, but also halal authentication, how to identify the non-halal contamination, etc. This is what we have done. For example, in Malaysia, we conducted a lot of R&D on halal authentication using various instruments. And I would like to encourage my researchers, my fellows in Indonesia, academics, to go and work together to start developing the research related to halal. Next slide, please. Yeah. When we talk about halal research, of course, we need collaborations. In collaborative platform, there are 8 clusters, and then it is already documented here in Malaysia by Academy Science of Malaysia. Number 1 is a capacity building. We need to have more and more university offering a program in halal, more and more university to establish a research center or research institute related to halal. And if possible, we want to include the halal research is part of the BRIN. Yeah, BRIN. Yeah, we have a strong discussion, intensive discussion before with our former Minister of Research, Ristek. Yeah, unfortunately now no longer the ministry, and then now it is under BRIN. We want to make sure that the halal is a part of the BRIN activities. Second one is connectors. There must be a connecting institution or connecting person from research to the application or to the production. I have a data saying that in Indonesia, less than 20% of the research that goes into production or to the end of products. It's similarly with Malaysia, about 20%. When we compare to other advanced countries like Korea and Japan, in Korea, 87% of the research are linked to the industry. In Japan, 70-something%. And the more advanced the country is, the closer the research to the industry is. This is what we have the scenario in our country. Our research, most of our research are stopped in the university level, or at most it is only in the publication. The next one, producers and manufacturers and technology providers, financing providers, standard regulation, and supply chain and logistics. And I think we need to have an institution that can connect all these 8 clusters. In Malaysia, for example, it was once under the Deputy Prime Minister office. So there is a loose coordination here, but that have a regular meeting for that under the Deputy Prime Minister office. because of all these things that you want to become the leading nation in halal industry, we have to strengthen all this cluster. Next. Okay, so what the trend in halal authentication? Ladies and gentlemen, actually there are three challenges when we develop a halal integrity. Number one is protecting halal integrity throughout supply chains. Because sometimes in the production house, the product is halal, but in the middle way, when it comes from the manufacturing to the end products, during the transport, etc., there is a contamination. This is how to protect the halal integrity throughout the supply chains. And to protect this, we need the research and innovation. The second challenge is that the halal industry is getting more complex now. Ordinary people may not know what the ingredient is all about. For example, it is in the label, it is mentioned riboflavin, palmitate, for example, cyanocobalamin, on some other additive here. In food industry, more than 500 additives are added here in the production. So we need to ensure that throughout the halal supply chain, the product is purely halal. That's why I would record here three technology or research that we need to strengthen. Number one is data science and big data, blockchain, etc. need to be strengthened to have integrity of halal. Number two, devices for rapid tests, because not all the sample need to be brought to the lab. Only the skillful person can analyze the research. But we need something that ordinary people can understand. We developed in Malaysia electronic nose that ordinary people can check. Use. They have the nose is very, very cheap, only 50 ringgit a piece. And then ordinary people, if they don't trust the sample, they just buy the sample and then check. Within 1 minute, you can get the result, what the alcohol level, what the lard level, for example. And the third is the halal authentication of a product in digital platform. I think we need to strengthen the digital platform. We need to encourage more entrepreneurs in digital because this is the future of the business. I take the data from Intellectual Property Office, IPO, that in the next 30 to 50 years, out of 10 future technology, 6 of them related to IT. And I think this is the time for the IT person to get involved in our halal industry, because this is the future of the industry. Next. Yeah, thank you. That's all what I could share with all of you. Thank you very much again. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Prof. Irwandi. It's very timely. Yeah. Okay. Very informative information that you mentioned about the development of halal authentication research, and also how to link from research into the industrial product. And we'll have more discussion later, but I will move to our next speaker, Ibu Amalia Sarasanti from Paragon Technology. We heard from Professor Irwandi and then also Professor Marco Tiemann to become the company who has halal as a reputation. We know Wardah as a brand from Paragon. I think we will learn a lot of many things from Ibu Amalia. This time is yours, Ibu Amalia.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for Bank Indonesia for inviting us to these sessions. Today, Wardah will share about how we actually pioneering as a halal lifestyle in Indonesia. and how do we embrace the opportunity during these pandemic situations. Okay, let's start. We can go to the next slide. Yeah, so as we know, how is actually, this pandemic impacting the whole industry? Global halal cosmetic business size before pandemic was, 66 billion. And of course, it gives a significant impact on this pandemic, gives a significant impact on cosmetic consumptions. Based on the data that we got, globally, the consumptions reduced by 2.5% last year. Yeah, and the scope of cosmetic itself is very big. Skincare is actually one of the cosmetic scope. And within that cosmetic, there are categories that, actually able to survive. And there's also categories that's actually really impacting due to pandemic. Skincare, for example, is a very good category that able to survive, increase its relevancy to this pandemic. While the other, for example, lip, globally, we get this data globally that, cosmetic and fragrance, fell into 55% versus before pandemic. The good thing is that in Indonesia, the results actually far more better than that. Okay, so the key question that always comes to us is that, how is actually Wardah adopt? How Wardah is basically sustained? And how, we embrace this into opportunity? Especially as, as number one player, the market is basically us. How do we help the whole of ecosystems bounce back? Okay. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so how do we seize these opportunities during this pandemic era? I think number one, I think most of the industry will do is about adaptive. How do we adaptive? And the way we do adaptive is basically by empathizing consumers more. We are basically changing the way we do product innovations design. In a few weeks after the pandemic hit, we launched the hygiene products, hand sanitizer, soap, hand wash, more hygiene needs back that consumer needs. And we need to be continue stand with Wardah loyal consumers. Along through the time, we understand there are more screen time like this, like we have now. And basically, maybe not many of you aware, there is a blue light impact as well. That's actually able to make the skin dull, and do a pigmentation, so that after that, we launch a series that give you a blue light protections. Again, from this, basically on how we basically continue the relevance to our consumers is very important. Cosmetic itself, being specific, all is actually wearing masks